It's HPR, All Things Considered, and I'm Dave Lawrence. Today we are joined by a cat who is going to be at the Mac on Saturday night, a comedian, an actor, a TV host, a voiceover guy, a producer, and so many other things. Our guest right now, certainly one of them, it's Howie Mandel. Hey, Howie, thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You're coming here for this gig at the Mac. Now, it always makes me think, is that because you got a place here, or are you just doing the holidays and working a little bit while you're out here?
Second, I love the holidays. I love Maui. I love hanging out in any place in Hawaii. And while I'm there, I might as well do the thing I love most, and that's stand-up. Regardless of anything else you've seen me do, whether you've watched America's Got Talent or Deal or No Deal or heard me do voiceover, the one constant in my life is and will always be stand-up comedy live.
Looking at your life story, considering what you just said, I guess I shouldn't be surprised by the comedic reasoning behind you getting kicked out of high school, impersonating a school board member, signing a construction contract for an addition to the building. It seems like you had this prankster kind of mentality from the time you were a kid.
Well, I am fascinated by people's reaction. You know, Candid Camera was like my favorite show when I was a kid, so I do like that. And to that end is why I will mention now while we're talking, don't bring the kids to the live show, because I love those awkward, unplanned moments where even if I plan something, you don't know how somebody's going to react. I love when the evening takes a direction you don't think it's going to take. You know, I look at it like a giant party, and I'm just trying to be the center of attention. I like to improvise. The audience, if you've been to any of my live shows, loves to interact, and it makes each and every show different than the one before or any one after. And it's a great escape from what's happening in the world and the news. I don't talk about current events. It's just the party that I look to throw each and every night I'm on stage.
By 23, you were doing stand-up in clubs. Is that accurate?
Yes.
How does that start? Where do you realize you have the confidence? To me, that seems like it takes a lot of... I mean, sometimes people come on the radio and they're like, oh, I'm so nervous doing this. I'm like, well, I'm not. So when I think about you, was it just a natural thing? I mean, how do you end up doing that?
No, I was a dare. You know, I went to a comedy club in the mid-'70s to go see a show, and they said that they were allowing amateurs to get up on stage after the show or on Monday nights at midnight, and the people that I was sitting with said, you should go on. And I have a tendency to have knee-jerk reactions to everything without any thought. And I said, okay, and didn't plan and went on stage. And that kind of fear is what drives me and keeps me doing what I do. I love those juices flowing. You know, the scarier it is, the more unplanned it is, the more it can go in any direction. It's kind of like my analogy has always been roller coasters. I love thrill rides, you know. The higher it is, the scarier it is, the faster it is, the better it is. And when we could be taken off that beaten path and get derailed in the moment on stage, once somebody says, ladies and gentlemen, Howie Mandel, and that curtain opens, anything can happen, and it could take me in any direction, and it's kind of scary and fun and thrilling and just keeps my juices going. Nothing's rehearsed. We don't know what's going to happen. I don't even do a sound check. So it's just fun.
And nor should you, huh? It's pretty easy on the technical requirements, I would think,
right,
with booking you. The Comedy Store, a lot of cats, this factors into their life, their development. Famous comedy venue for people who don't know in L.A., owned by Pauly Shore's mom, Mitzi. It factors into your late 70s period. And then it appears it kind of led, or maybe you'll explain, it led to that first TV gig, to Make Me Laugh, and then opening for Letterman all before 1980.
Yeah. I had done that dare in Toronto, Canada, where I'm from, and I found a new love, you know, a passion. Even though I was working in retail, I would show up almost every night of the week at the Yuck Yucks Comedy Club, and then I went on a vacation to California. And then because I had done stand-up, I went to the famed Comedy Store where everybody who's anybody was playing, got on stage there on the amateur night, got seen by the guy who did a show called Make Me Laugh. And he came up to me, and I thought this was so corny, L.A. I didn't believe it, but I'm on stage for one time, and a guy comes up to me and says, are you interested in doing television? And I went, yeah. And he goes, well, come to the studio tomorrow. I've never been to a studio. And I went to the studio, and I met him, and it was a show called Make Me Laugh. And he hired me on my vacation to do 5 episodes. I did 5 episodes of Make Me Laugh. It was a comedy game show where people got paid for every second they didn't laugh, and you had 60 seconds to try to make somebody laugh. So I just did it and went back to Canada. And then the phone started ringing when it aired. This is in the 70s, so when you were on TV, it was a bigger deal. You can be on TV 100 times today, and nobody knows who you are,
right?
Because everybody's got 600 stations and YouTube and video games. And I started getting called. I got called by the Mike Douglas Show and the Merv Griffin Show, and I came down and did that. And Diana Ross's boyfriend at the time, who was Gene Simmons of Kiss, saw me on Merv Griffin and hired me to be her opening act. And I opened for Letterman once, but he wasn't. When I opened for Letterman, he was just the MC at the Comedy Store. He wasn't David Letterman of the David Letterman Show.
Right.
And my career just started moving. And from that point on, it's just been a whirlwind of not planning, just letting it happen. I ended up, instead of going into a sitcom, I was an actor for 6 years on a drama called St. Elsewhere. I ended up doing Saturday morning cartoons, Bobby's World, and all the Gremlin movies, and voiceover career, and now hosting and judging, and, who knows what's next.
St. Elsewhere is probably where my mother was a huge fan of yours and really who introduced me to you. And I remember watching one of your mid-'80s, I guess, comedy specials with her, and the latex glove over your head bit was there. And in studying you today, I see it goes all the way back to 1978, really to your origins in stand-up. True or not?
Right. You're heading on stage with nothing to do and standing there in front of hundreds of people. I had nothing to do. I had rubber gloves in my hand because I have OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and I didn't want to touch things. I carry rubber gloves with me all the time. So I ended up just pulling it over my head without knowing what it was and breathing through my nose. The fingers were going up and down. The audience was laughing. And then that became a staple of my act, of inflating a rubber glove over my head. So much so, I don't really think it's a talent, but it bought me a home.
Right. That's a cool way to look at it. Hey, Howie, I'd never heard that story, though, with Gene. Flashback to when, tell that in story form.
I did the Merv Griffin Show, and apparently him and Diana were watching it. They lived together in the late 70s or early 80s. I don't remember when they lived together. And an agent called and said, we got a call. You were on Merv Griffin last night. We got a call from Gene Simmons of Kiss, and he wants to know if you want to open for Diana Ross at Caesar's Palace.
Wow.
And I said, that's what I said. I don't really have an act, I just had like 6-7 minutes, but I said, okay. I took the job, and each and every night, she was the only one, and to this day, she's so sweet to me, even now. She enjoyed me. Her audience did not. Her audience had no interest in seeing this wacky, crazy kid from Toronto whose claim to fame was putting a rubber glove on their head. I mean, they wanted to see the classic Motown Supreme songs, not this idiot. Right. And I was so nervous every night. I wore a suit jacket, and I would sweat through the suit jacket. You can see I have pictures from those nights where you can see the sweat coming through the armpits of the jacket, let alone the shirt.
Gene hadn't even taken off the makeup yet. Was he hanging around at these shows or no?
No, he hadn't been unmasked yet. I saw him because he was her boyfriend, but no, he hadn't taken off the mask publicly yet.
Wow, look at you.
I know, it was wow.
It's some crazy stuff, especially then. He was...
Yeah.
That was big time. And a cat who, I do a segment on the show called Helping Hand where I try to shine the light on organizations that advocate for the disabled and for other people who are vulnerable and for vulnerable animals. And you did a thing with a guy I'd look at as sort of a hero, Michael J. Fox, challenged with Parkinson's disease, huge advocate for those with Parkinson's and disabilities in general. Cameo in something that he directed, Iceman Hummeth. It aired on Letterman.
Yeah, it's funny that you should mention that because I was just with him 2 days ago, and we talked about that. I just bumped into him, and I was just in New York, and he was in New York. And, there's a camaraderie amongst fellow Canadians, who came out here and found our way. Right. He's a real pioneer, not only in the show business, but in his fight against his issue, and I think he's raised so much money, and research is moving ahead by leaps and bounds. So he's just a great guy. Anytime he called for me to do something, I was happy to be there. I feel like that today. I just show up places and have a good time, and I can't believe every day I wake up, and this is 180 degrees from what I believed I would be doing or where I would be living and how I'd be living, and even to be sitting here on the phone with you in my 60s talking about what I have been doing, what I'm going to do is so far from what I expected.
I wish you were coming to Honolulu, brother. So far, to get to Maui is practically like going to Antarctica from here with the the airfare and the car and everything that you need to get over there. So maybe next year you can. So we have Bill Maher on New Year's Eve, and then you're over there the day before. So we got a big New Year's this year, Howie.
Well, there's always a ton going on in Hawaii. Hawaii's a great place for entertainment, music, and relaxing.
I'm giving you a hug, a high five. Have a wonderful trip. Do keep visiting Honolulu in mind sometime. And,
I will.
Thanks, brother.
Bye-bye.